think, although I'm fogging up, look at that. The glasses are just like, I am like a mess. I'm like a great, foggy, sweaty mess right now. Welcome to Sunday. Sunday, blind, sweaty, what is it? Blind as a bat, bold as an eagle, and deaf as a post. That's where I'm at this fine Sunday. And yeah, I thought I'd better do some little bit of exercise. I thought it was about time. Good morning, Fox Girl. How are you? And good morning to Dave's the dude. Are you the dude that's Dave, or am I the Dave's the dude that's never mind. Mary Lou, how are you? Martin, Ryan, all you Sunday morning squirrels. Good morning, Peter. Beautiful weather here in Michigan. Yeah, we got it here too. Toronto's looking half decent, I gotta say. Oh, I know what that is. Is that the Oh, I know. Ah, look at that. I was thinking, like, what is that? I've got this neat little flare in the corner here, and I always have it. And I realized that I'm on these, I'm propped up on these Prusa, let's see if you can see this, propped up on these little Prusa filament holders. And because, of course, like everything else in my life, I haven't actually set them up properly. But so I thought I would, I was using this as my little camera stand, and I realized it's the reflection off the metal of these things. So you can see, if I do this. Oh, wait, am I wrong? Is that not it? Or is it this one? Wait, what? It's not that? Hang on. Wait a second. It's not that. So what is it? Okay, that is really weird. So maybe it is some kind of a light flare. Is it just a reflection from that? Okay, now I'm obsessed. Oh, I see. Okay, so I see I can get it. I can get it. It's from these. Okay. Never been good at flares. Cameras always. I love cameras. I always geek out about ghosts. Thanks, Jim. James, I wish we were. Not Magic the Gathering. I wish we were Dungeons and Dragoning today. But I think you were right. I realized when you said it that I perhaps had taken on a little too much on my Sunday, because I have. So I wanted to do Dungeons and Dragons today because the kids are really freaking chomping at the bit to get back to James Gurney's magical Dungeons and Dragons boat of death, and I have like a double read through today. So I have two episodes of Clarice that we do a read through of, which I'm really excited about because I want to know what happens, and I also have lines because I'm shooting first thing tomorrow morning. So. James very wisely pointed out that perhaps I might want to reconsider because I had a few things to do, and James is absolutely right. I think I was a little ahead of myself on that, because look at it. It's like, what is it, like 11 something now already, or what? I have no idea what time it is actually. Now I think about it. If I do this, will I get the time? No, I won't. Why don't I see the chat anymore? It's disappeared. I'm still here 7 due to call offs. At least I'm off tomorrow. Huh. We're supposed to leave at 4 here till 7. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. You get a little bit of extra time. You get to hang with us, do a little burn and learn. 10:53 a.m. Thank you, Fox Girl. So, yeah, there you go. So it's almost 11 o'clock, and I'm only just staggering off the torture device. I did the torture device today because we've been doing yoga. And while yoga is fantastic, and I feel like, all of a foot taller until an hour after, when I feel about 3 feet shorter. Yoga is great, but I wanted to do some actual cardio stuff. So while I get a little cardio from yoga, mainly just from all of my complaining and heavy breathing, the torture device is just a lot better for that stuff. So I did my 33 minutes. I don't know why 33. I have a thing about numbers that look good together, and I stabbed myself with get this. So I have a horrible habit of leaving pens and pencils in my pockets. So I'll use a pencil and then I don't know where to put it. So I put it in my pocket, and invariably I put it the wrong way around. And I started using mechanical pencils. Of course, mechanical pencils, they're a little sharp. When you reach into your pocket for your keys and forget that there's the pencil there, you tend to inject yourself with some nice non-lead leads. David, Emperador, how are you, Emperador? Good morning question. Ooh, are we in a simulation? Does it matter? I mean, I think that's really the funny thing is, if we are. I would argue this: we are in a simulation simply because our brain, what we see around us, what we hear, what we smell, what we touch, what we taste, all that stuff, that doesn't exist. That truly doesn't exist. All that is our brain processing signals. So our brain sits in a little dark this again, this is me pontificating, of course. So, our brain sits in a nice little bone cave in darkness, sloshing around happily, and it's got the giant network, shoved into its back end, and it's just processing all of those electrical signals that show up to us. So even just the concept that we are seeing the same things is in question. So basically, our brain is creating a simulation of what's around us all the time, anyways. Why I say it doesn't matter is because you die, you die. You're sick, you're sick. You're uncomfortable, you're uncomfortable. It doesn't really matter whether it's real or not. The peril and the pleasure and the and the joy and the despair, all of these things are all things that you're going to experience, whether you're experiencing them as a simulation or not. So I worry a little bit about that thought process, because then it leads into sort of a religious thing as well, where you go, well, this is just the pre-heaven purgatory, like what we do here is only important for what happens after. And I think as a result, it can be a horrendous excuse for doing truly terrible things. So I feel like if we feel that the mistakes we make in our lives, that the terrible things that we do in our lives can be and should be forgiven in order to succeed in an afterlife, I worry very much that people can be skewed to make perhaps different decisions in their lives that would affect us as a society and as an animal roaming this planet. I worry a little bit about the simulation thing, because I do feel like it allows people to disconnect themselves from their own responsibilities while they're here, right? Oh, God will save us, or oh, this is all a simulation, I think can lead to a certain amount of inaction that I think will come and bite us in the bottom later on, shall we say. So there you go. There's my thoughts on this, on the simulation side of stuff. I wouldn't say purgatory, more like a testing level. Well, yeah, but this is it again. If we feel that this is all just a preparation for something else, I feel like I certainly would approach it in a different way. Oh, who's done that? Someone just $5 just popped up. What is that? Can I do that? The DNW. Thank you again, DNW. You're very, very kind, as always. Good morning, my man. Gonna watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh man, you got 4 hours. You got 4 hours to sit down and watch mindless cartoon-like stuff. Oh, I've got nothing nice to say about that stuff. Other than Jason. Other than Momoa. It holds no appeal to me anymore. I used to love that stuff. I used to live for those things, but I just find it all sort of noisy and headachy now. I find Baz's anime stuff far more exciting, because it has an originality to it and a true, sometimes a true darkness that I feel doesn't come through in these sort of created by committee films. So anyways, yeah, I'm afraid I just don't. DC is better in cartoon form. Marvel owns the film media. Yeah, I mean, look, I watched Jane, what did we watch the other day? The Iron Falcon Man guy? What was the Iron Falcon guy?
Oh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Snowman and the Winter Falcon. We watched that. And it was fun. That was a fun show. I gotta say, what is the name of the actor? The guy who's the lead guy? Anthony. I like that Anthony Mackie guy. Man, he's cool. Like he's just cool in every way. Like I just think I feel like he's got the peril, he's got the concern, he's got the superhero stuff down. That guy is fast becoming like my favorite superhero. But again, it's like a cartoon. It's like, oh look, it's like Captain America used to be like a guy who was strong and he had a shield. That was it. Now it's like he's gotta have a shield and wings and super HUDs, and I feel like enough is already. The other complaint I had the other day was about a show called The Wilds or something. It's basically a recreation or a reimagining of Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Flies. And Lord of the Flies is one of my favorite books growing up. Like it's one of those few books in school that I I read and it like struck me, it really affected me. I was like, oh my God, this is like, as a kid, just the idea of like kids are evil and they can do terrible things and they can try to do good things. And then, and the way at the end, the way the kid sort of falls apart into the arms of an adult, even though they've just been doing these horrendous evil things. I thought it was spectacular. I've liked the movies of them. I've liked the whole thing. So I thought, I was very excited about the idea of, let's mix this up. Let's make this about, young women stuck on an island. And I know there's a silly sort of sexist approach that's like, oh yeah, all right, women on an island. But honestly, my appeal was that I wanted to see how they would play with the different dynamics between these characters. We've seen sort of what prep school boys would do in the books, and then in the films, it tended to be more. Just more about sort of that sort of darkness that can sort of dwell within us, that evil that can dwell within even the youngest child type thing, that need to hurt, that mob mentality and stuff. Just fantastic. So anyways, I was really eager to see that. And then I watched the first episode and I don't understand. I mean, I won't ruin it. I don't want to do any spoilers or anything. So, I mean, watch the first episode and see what you think. But for me, again, it was like adding Iron Man armor to Captain America. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like what the, or not the Falcon guy who's, I'm assuming he's going to become Captain America. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen, but I could be wrong. So I was really disappointed that they overcomplicated it with one of these stupid conspiracy things. And I just don't understand why everything has to have a freaking conspiracy in it now. It's like have you not read go on the internet. There's way more exciting conspiracy theories going on there. And more outlandish and bizarre and deadly and terrifying. The real world of conspiracy is far more exciting to me than anything writers can write at this point. I really like what Clarice is doing because it's not this kind of conspiracy. I mean, there is a conspiracy to some extent in an ongoing conspiracy, but it's a criminal enterprise type thing. So I'm giving them a pass on that. But the idea that again, I'm going to look at it from my perspective, from my silly little character. But the idea that the FBI is this systemically racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, whatever. I mean, all the different things that all levels of our society were struggling with back in the days when this thing was set, and continue to some extent today, obviously. But just it's kind of fun, in the same way that you go back and play with a future perspective on the past, I think is a very similar thing to our approach to science fiction. Where science fiction, we can take what we know now and project it into the future and see all the cool things and all the terrible things that can happen. It's really neat to see all the cool and terrible things that have happened and then cast our eye back on that and look at it that way. I feel like in a way it's a sort of it's almost like a reverse science fiction. So I'm really enjoying what Clarice is doing there. And I sound like I'm shilling for the studio, but honestly, we've really been enjoying watching the show, and so I quite enjoy these read throughs because I get first dibs on seeing what's going on. So, and also you just get to see actors. You get to see these very, very talented actors at work. It's sort of like it's almost like people watching because they're just doing a read through. They're just like trying stuff, throwing stuff around. Their guards down a little bit more. It's just fun to watch them. And sort of in their own little environments and stuff. So, anyways, just tuning in. Hope everyone's good. Chelsea, so far so good. Anything exciting? Sup, Sprocket. I think they keep going to conspiracy angle with Marvel due to starting with Hydra, and they keep going back with the idea of the backroom villains ideas. Yeah, it just feels like they don't trust us to enjoy the characters enough, if that makes sense. It feels like there is. It feels to me like there's non-writerly people forcing some kind of a long arc on these shows to what's going to keep them coming back. And it's like, it's the characters. Like, that's like, I'm sorry, that is literally it. It's the yes, you want to know what happens to the characters. But if you don't have these if you don't have these characters, if you don't flesh them out in a good way, you don't care about conspiracy and stuff. But I think they've mistaken conspiracy for good writing in many cases, and I think they're not letting their writers have the kind of fun that they should with these characters, because they're so worried about how do we get the most people in watching every week, and I feel like I'm feeling like the Marvel stuff is becoming, not that I wouldn't become, just to be very clear, not that I would never say no to a Marvel movie or a Marvel TV series, just to be very, 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 very clear. But I definitely feel a bit like I'm being marketed to. Like, I just feel like we're just trying to sell toys, and we're just trying to, it feels clunky, whereas when I see something like, The Boys was hit and miss. There were things I liked and things I didn't like about The Boys, but I felt that it played with the idea of things in a way that I hadn't really seen before. I like things being turned on its head. I mean, one of my favorite comic books of all time is Arkham Asylum, or Arkham Asylum, and I have the hard copy. I think I've got a signed hard copy of that somewhere. But that was because to me it took this Batman, it took this very sort of colorful, bright Batman that I grew up with. With the television series. That was my only, that and the sort of the bish bang boom comic book of that era. That was Batman to me. And then to suddenly have Arkham Asylum or the Dark Knight with I've forgotten the guy's name now who did that, but fantastic. He also did the 300 and stuff. Frank Miller. So the idea of like the sort of Frank Miller approach to stuff, and even what Zack Snyder did originally with the 300. I mean, he did a great job with that first film, and I loved the look of his stuff. I feel a bit like when they become these basically billion-dollar companies, I feel like there's a need to sort of there's too many things in the soup. You know what I mean? It's like, then we'll put some pineapple and some, and what about like what are these spicy things? Let's put it feels like it just becomes this like overwhelming, confusing mess of things. So there you go. That's my thought on that. So that said, if anyone needs an old white guy to in any kind of Marvel stuff, I'm more than welcome to completely reverse my thoughts on that, just for credit with my kids. Although my son seems to really be enjoying me being such a jerk on Clarice. I don't know whether it's because he's like, see, this is what I have to live with, or whether it's because he actually just enjoys seeing me hopefully not like I really am, if that makes sense. So, yeah, first script I was writing had to redo so many times because of the character development. Took forever to nail it. Arkham was awesome. I still love Burt Ward, Robin. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I love those Batmans, but it was a very different world. David, give it time. Disney will eventually own the Stargate franchise. Then you'll get your crossover. There you go. Look, I am truly amazed. I know I keep hearing about stuff that's, oh no, there's going to be a new one, there's going to be a new Stargate and all that kind of stuff. But I really am amazed that they haven't jumped on this stuff right now. I mean, post pandemic, we're going to start this stuff. I mean, I feel like this is something that could have been done. There's so many things that we could have been doing with Stargate over the last decade, and it's amazing to me that they haven't done that. I mean, I'm of course amazed that it isn't being done with me, of course, but I mean, Stargate McKay has a lovely ring to it, but I do think that I mean, I worry that if it launches again now, I just don't know. I'm concerned about the kind of impact it would have now, because I mean, while I would very much like to see it, and obviously would absolutely love to be a part of it, there's so much stuff out there now. Like, there is so many shows, and I think that once we start opening up again, there's going to be even more. I mean, I've literally, I don't think I've ever been as busy as I am right now. I mean, which isn't saying much. I can be very not busy. I'm very good at not being busy. But I have, I'm literally doing 2 shows at the same time right now. That is so rare that happens, or that they'll let you do that. I mean, they're sort of in a situation where they need these actors and these characters to be sort of at their beck and call when they want them. And COVID plays with the schedules a lot. So I've been very, very fortunate where they've they've basically let me do two shows at the same time, which normally they don't do. Normally it's like, no, you got to be. It's like, well, on Stargate it was exclusive. I was supposed to only do Stargate, and that's what you get paid the big money for. But for some reason they're letting me sort of do other stuff. So yeah. So Marvel, I'm not entirely busy, just in case if Marvel is asking about it. If they need a new Doctor Strange or anything. When do we find out about the second show? Oh, I don't know, Jim. That's a good point. I imagine they've still got to release their second season, I guess. They still got to do the second season. And I come in at the tail end of that second season. So I imagine it'll be, and I don't know how they release it either, because it's streaming as well. So I don't know whether they just release them all or whether they're releasing them one at a time, or what their approach is going to be. I feel like they might put them all out at the same time. If that's the case, then we can talk about it almost right away. But honestly, I don't know I don't have a date for you on that. Sorry. But what was fun was I mentioned it in passing to a friend, obviously under strict secrecy, guidelines. And he was so excited, which was really great. That I don't know who's, there's so many things on, I don't know who's watching what. And it was just kind of exciting that he was like, oh my God, like that's going to be, so that's how I felt. But that's kind of nice that other people are as well. All right. So that's where I'm at on that. McKay wasn't written for him. No, it's true. Wasn't originally. Dorte, hello from Germany. Hello to you. McKay was not written for me. No, not originally. No. It was. I think originally, again, this is this horrible kind of racially insensitive approach that the film industry has had up until very recently, and probably still does, about the casting process. And it's literally the creators and the studios and the distributors and stuff, networks and stuff, saying like, okay, so these are the people that we have to have in the show. We need one of those white guys, one woman, a couple of people of color. Doesn't really matter what color it is, but just as long as we're covered our bases. And I mean, it's horribly sort of systemically racist in its approach. And I think originally McKay, not McKay, but the character that I was going to play. Jane, do you remember the name of the character I was originally going to play on Stargate? What was the character name?
Sir.
Do you remember what the character name was of the guy I was supposed to play on Stargate originally?
Well, wasn't it Bennett or something? Do you mean the character that they created for Atlantis?
Originally, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Bennett.
Was it Bennett?
It may have been Beckett, because then they created.
No. Beckett was always. I think Beckett was always him. That's weird. Maybe someone else knows. Someone might know. In here, Jane couldn't answer that question. Jane, I think maybe you need to go talk to someone about that memory. I want to say A. I want to say there was an A. It was an A name. Dorte, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. It's based on demographics, the last bastion of bigotry. Huh. That's interesting. I mean, it's Ingram. Baby, Ingram, does that sound right? I think it was Ingram.
Sorry, I'm trying to cook pancakes and listen to the news. What is it, darling?
Sorry, darling. Did you not want me to bother you?
No, it's fine. I just can't hear you clearly.
Ingram. That makes sense, right? It was Ingram.
Maybe.
Really? No, I'm pretty sure that was it.
Yeah.
Jane, I'm always right. I don't know why you have to question me on these things.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
All right, I'll just stream it with my friends over here.
Yeah.
You're making pancakes?
Yeah.
Oh, she's making pancakes. Thanks, baby. Sorry to interrupt. One of the joys of living with an ADHD guy is that he's constantly calling out and asking you questions. Anyway, she's very patient with me. But I could tell that she was definitely being patient. Yes, so Ingram was originally a black astrophysicist. It was not McKay. So the voice was very different for the beginning, the first episode of the pilot episode of Atlantis was very different. But because, again, as the horrible film industry would put it, they went black with other roles, or went of color with other, whatever the horrible terms they use. They felt that there was room for another white guy apparently. So, and they, I guess they liked the McKay dynamic, which could easily have been done by someone else. But I think because he was sort of already established, they had I guess it took a bit of pressure off them from the writing perspective, in that they already had a not necessarily well-rounded character by any means, but they already had a character that they could work with. So DNW, it was Orlin, I thought, but schedule got in the way. It was Orlin, I thought, but schedule got in the way. Orlin. I don't think Orlin. No, it was Ingrid. I think it was Ingram or Ingrid or something. Not Ingrid. It was Ingrid. I thought it was Ingram, but anyways. All right. She must love you. Making pancakes. Let's hope it's pancakes with bacon. I don't think there's bacon. I don't think we're baconing. I think these may even be gluten-free pancakes, which sounds disgusting, but I got to tell you, they're actually freaking great. Admittedly, I put them in under like this much maple syrup, so I won't even notice whether they're gluten or even if they're pancakes in there. I'm like in a little sea of maple syrup. Ingrid, yeah, it is Ingrid. Okay, so I'm building a Stargate utilizing Arduino. Oh yeah, I will have a green screen and dispense wine. Wow, D-Lab Electronics. That is a Stargate that I would like to partake in. A green screen and dispense wine. Wow. So speaking of like putting too many things in one thing, where does the wine go? That's very cool though. D-Lab Electronics. We'll have to see what you're up to then, D-Lab Electronics. I do love Arduino. I absolutely adore playing with Arduino. Like, it's just so much fun that you can code these things very quickly and have them, be prototyping robotics or automation stuff in a day with this stuff. It's just amazing. Oh God, the SGA watch parties. I don't know how to get back into them right now because my kid's back at school, so he's only got Saturday and Sunday, and I feel I don't want to pressure him into doing watch parties if he's only got 2 days off. So maybe, in fact, not even maybe. Why don't we say that over the April holidays, because they don't have March break now, they're gonna have an April break. Why don't we aim to do maybe a couple on the break, and then I'm not taking days out of his 2-day weekend, which I feel a bit guilty about. I don't want to feel like he's forced into this stuff. I want him to do it because he likes doing it, if that makes sense. So Trey McLemore, thank you very much, McLemore. Thank you very much. It's Better Sunday now. It's like $5 richer. That's fantastic. And as I say, Tech Bandits. I'll go into Tech Bandits. All right, I have a lovely bottle of Sauv Blanc for anniversary dinner. Not sure I can wait until 5 p.m. It's 5 p.m. somewhere, right? Exactly. D-Lab Cabernet or Pinot Noir. In my opinion, I wouldn't imagine anyone else would have played McKay better than. Well, that's only because you've seen me do it, right? I mean, that's the beauty of it. Thank you, and I like to agree with you on that. But it was such a fun character, and I think that they had the advantage of having already been on SG1. So I think there was enough of it was established enough that he could just show up, and there was automatically a certain sort of irk and ire that he extracted from people, if that makes sense. So I think that was sort of part of the fun of it. I remember the actor who played Grodin. We were stepping through the Stargate in the first pilot, and as we came through, he sort of patted me on the back, and in sort of a congratulatory kind of a thing, and I went no. No. I said, I'm sorry, but there's no freaking way anyone is patting McKay on the back unless there's a big backstory to that. So I felt kind of bad, but I was like, please don't do that, because it is not something I would respond to. Well, I mean, as it turns out, I think I did actually respond to it in a sort of a what the hell is that kind of a thing. But because again, you don't want to tell actors not what to do and what not to do, but I just wanted him to know that McKay was not really a backslapping guy. So and he was very, very good about it. I felt horrible. I hate telling other actors things to do, but it was either, I think I actually said, look, either don't slap me on the back or realize that I am not going to be happy about it. Just so as your from an acting perspective, not as a person, not as a human. I have nothing against you as a human. You seem like a lovely man, but and was a lovely man. Used to drive him to work. Actually, I used to pick him up on the way home. We used to carpool with him. So I'd show up in my little Toyota Echo, and he'd hop in, and we'd drive to set together. Anyways, but then on the way home, I never wanted to drive him home because I was always so McKay by the end of the day. I was always like, "Ugh, I don't want to be nice to people. I don't want to talk to people on the way home. I want to listen to my bad 80s music and that kind of stuff. Ivan, I will not be streaming today. No, I'm going to. I mean, if I get a little bit of time, I might pop onto Twitch or something. But I think more than likely, I've got a bunch of lines to learn, and I got a couple of read-throughs. So I'm reading. I've got my read-through started, I think, at 2 or 2:30, and they'll probably go till 5 or 5:30. So that's usually the way it goes. Hello, Hotmail Company 52. Afternoon from the UK. UK is doing very well, I hear. I hear your vaccinations are doing fantastically. We suck at it, apparently. My father, though, has got his first jab, which is fantastic. Now I have to get my mom jabbed. Well, my mom in the UK has got both of her jabs, but my stepmom here, Mom 2.0 as I call her, she's not got anything yet, and I'm a bit worried because she's got some underlying conditions there that could be really nasty if she got it. So. Yeah, vaccination. I love that the British are always so like, it's actually worked out. It's working out, which is, I suppose that's understandable because the reality is it was a freaking disaster before that, before the vaccinations. I mean, England was just, it was horrendous how many people were catching and dying of this wretched thing. Including my uncle. But I feel like they really stepped up on this, and I think they were really smart about how simple their approach was. Again, this is like a burn and learn about simplicity, about the benefits of simplicity. Start with the wrinklies, as my dad says. Start with the wrinklies because 96% of the deaths were in the 80 plus range. Start with them and just work down. And I know that doesn't sound fair, and we should be worried about this group and that group and those people and these people. But just from a simplicity, when you're dealing with a government, the simplicity means it's efficient. It means it's fast, and you can just whip when you're not going like, okay, are you this? When it's just a matter of like, great, you're over 80, perfect, bang, let's get you. Oh, great, over 75, bang, done, and just keep going through like that. I feel like, yeah. At the same time, you can also have little sort of side hustles for people on the front lines potentially. I worry a little bit about what about the 18 to 20 something year olds who are out doing, minimum wage jobs and stuff, who are basically front line, and they're giving you they're bagging your groceries, or they're handling the cash registers and stuff. I understand there's a lot of different groups that people want to be looking out for, but again, if you just start those giant machines rolling down from 80 plus down, we'll get through this quickly. And thankfully, Ontario seems to have at least begun that now. I think we've started on the 75s and up now, but still, it's just taking a really freaking long time. All right. So yeah, I don't mind waiting. There's a good chance, who knows? Who knows? That's the problem, isn't it? You don't know you've got an underlying condition until you discover you've got an underlying condition, and you don't want to understand you don't want to discover you've got an underlying condition when you've got COVID, right? Anyways, Australia, my beloved Australia. Once again, the East, I hear the East is just getting flooded out. All this crap we do to our planet, the first people to suffer seem to always be the freaking Australians. Australia they get the hole in the ozone, they get the floods and the fires and the temperature. My heart goes out to Australia because it's such an amazing place. It's such an amazing place. And you people are so wonderfully mad. I so loved dealing with Australians. I loved being out there. I loved the conventions out there. I loved our trips. My family and I have all of the photos that come up of us smiling and happy are all freaking Australia or New Zealand for that matter. Two very, very different countries, and I don't mean to lump them together because they're such different experiences and different people and different approaches to life. But Australia just seems to just be getting the brunt of this global crap, global emergency, I think is the term. I know the Arctic and the ice and all that kind of stuff, but I feel like it's like the ice melts and it lands on Australia. It's like I feel like you guys are just getting your way out of whack on what the kind of natural disaster stuff happening there. So there's no hole. I know you fixed the hole. You guys did good. And it's also, I always look to like New Zealand and to Australia for their environmental policies as well. Also, their policies on indigenous people as well. I mean, they're so far ahead in all of these regards. The Australians are a bit like the Canadians in that they love their rules. I feel like I don't know whether this applies to Australians or not, but the Canadians, I feel the difference between Canadians and Americans are that Americans like to govern, right? They want to be a part of the process. They want to make the decisions. They want to do the governing, whereas Canadians want to be governed. I feel like we want our government to look after things for us, and the Americans want to look after things, with the help of their government, if that makes sense. But the government always seems to come secondary to the individual, whereas in Canada, I feel like we tend to, not always in a positive sense, tend to go like, let the government will take that. I mean, like we're terrible about making donations and stuff because we just go, well, the government's doing all that stuff, right? So we don't have to put any money in. So I feel like we're a little sort of lackadaisical about that stuff. And also I think we go out of our way. We shoot ourselves in the foot to be anything other than American. I think people will make decisions based on not being American that were completely counter to anything that might benefit them. So, all right, I've been babbling on for a while, and I can smell the pancakes now. So I'm afraid you are lost to me. You have rapidly dropped in importance in my life, I'm afraid, people, because I can smell pancakes upstairs. So, Austria. Hello, Fabian from Austria. Welcome. Rodney. Yes, exactly. I feel the same way, Selma. What else we got? Pancakes are delicious. It's true. It's fair. Isn't it fair? It's true. Like, I'm being dumped for pancakes, do you? That is horrible to say as a Dark Sprocket. It's horrible to say, but it's the truth. I mean, it's hard to, pancakes, I think the pancakes are, yeah. Why did Tabor Kalchuk was in actions like McKay? I mean, those characters were similar. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Look, I mean, I think Tabor was kind of an extension, not an extension of McKay, but definitely it's the same writers, for God's sake. I mean, I definitely feel like they were looking for those McKayisms in Tabor. My hope was to sort of take it to a slightly more comical, slightly, certainly less intelligent, although, I thought he was sort of a wonderfully wacky kind of a fun character. So I think there's always going to be McKayisms to things, because if I'm playing them, there's going to be a certain amount of McKayisms in there. But I do think that certainly, Malazzi, I think was definitely playing on the McKay-isms there for sure. So, would I ever reenact scenes from Stargate in a live stream? Lexi K. Unlikely. I feel like I've done it. I mean, this is the beautiful. There are people who love theater. People love theater, and they love the idea that every night the performance is different and stuff. I don't love that. I just don't. I feel like I want to do a bunch of takes, and I feel like I want to do a bunch of takes, and then I want an editor to go and pick out what the best ones are, and then it's there. It's captured for eternity, right? The live stuff. I struggle with the live stuff because I feel like maybe it's just insecurity. I don't feel like I'm enough in control of what I do to mimic it on a regular basis. Like I found theater exhausting. Because part of theater for me was always like, how do you do this differently every night and yet do it the same every night? They don't want you to do it differently every night. They want you to do it the same every night. And I don't feel like I'm that in tune with what I do to make it the same every time. So I feel like my joy in acting is not sort of knowing where things are going to go sometimes. Like there's always like an element of like, all right, hang on, here we go. And action. It's like, yeah. You know what I mean? So that's my approach to acting has always been just sort of reacting off other people and seeing what you get. And, I really believe firmly that you don't, I mean, yeah, you want to know your character. You want to know what's happened before. I don't like to know what's happened after. I don't really care, if that makes sense. I feel like you want to be careful not to telegraph stuff in the future. It's almost more fun to, I don't think we weigh our words in a way that considers the future that much. I think we tend to react to things, and then we try to we try to make them make sense later, or we try to explain them differently once we've done that. So I feel like in a way you almost don't want to know what's gonna happen. I just need to know what has happened so that I know my lines and I know what's happened, so that when I get onto set, I can go, oh, look, we're here. Oh, the chair's over there. In my mind, for some reason, it was over there. And I'm not locked into anything. I know that I'm basically I'm like a blank canvas. I like to say I provide the raw materials and someone else can craft them into valuable ingots or whatever it is later, or fabulous jewels, perhaps. Anyways, where did you learn your acting skills? On set, dinner's ready. I learned on set. I was very, very lucky this way. I never took acting classes other than I did some theater in high school. So I did high school plays, and there really wasn't a theater class, but my very kind and sort of inspiring English teacher and the was it the priest, the guy, the father, the school chaplain, I guess. He was an actor, and before he went into the church, and he took a real interest in the acting side of stuff for me, and actually put together a curriculum for Shadow Vipers. Thank you very much. Oh, that's breakfast. I gotta go. Don't keep Jane waiting if she's got pancakes for you. Anyways, point being is, he set up a drama class for me, and we did things like we would watch Playing Shakespeare and watch all the Royal Shakespeare Company stuff, and I loved that. His love was always the theater. His focus was always the theater. Mine was always film. So and we clashed a bit on that numerous times, in fact. Because I just wanted to be a famous movie star. That's what I got into it, wanting to be a famous movie star. Now the last thing I want to be is famous. It's nice having people come up and say hi, but the idea of not being able to do things because everyone knows who you are, it must be so wonderful in the pandemic for famous people, because they get to walk around in masks and no one knows who they are. I think that's wonderful. So the acting was basically, I learned it by doing it. I had friends who started making films when we were about 13, and I would just help with those. I would act in them, but I would also run around and grab lights and do sound and direct traffic when we shouldn't be, and do props and stunts. And also, it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. It was quite a disappointment when I got to actual professional work and discovered that I couldn't do all of the jobs, that I had to just do the acting. I was like, here, grab a coffee. It's like, I want to go play with the camera. Can I go play with the sound? I was late on one of my first days at work because I arrived and someone thought I was a grip and said they literally said you're late, let's go. I need to whole cosplay suit like Darth. Oh, that would be cool. DNW. Okay, I gotta go for food because my beautiful wife and beautiful, brilliant wife has made pancakes. So I will say, be safe, be kind, be brilliant. Until we geek again, I will say cheerio and huzzah and pancakes.